Good evening. I hope everybody is doing well. This year, instead of having a traditional parent information night, we decided that we would do a video for all of you to save you a little time from coming in. Our attendance the last few years has been sparse, to say the least, so we thought maybe this would be a better way to communicate information about fourth grade. So, if you would like to listen as we go through the slides, hopefully you'll learn something new. And as always, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask afterwards. This first screen you will see, this is our fourth grade team. Your student will have contact with all of these teachers throughout the year, as they will have each of them for unit studies. I will go through and tell you what each person teaches. Christy Palinch is teaching social studies this year. Tracy Pline is teaching the Spanish unit. Jenny Fick is doing a research unit with your students. I am doing a unit on earth materials, which your students are currently taking part in. Michelle Morse is doing a unit on civics and civic duty in government. Erin Bilberg is covering social studies as well. And Jessica Ginter is doing a science unit on water. We're lucky here at Turtle Lake to have a fantastic support team that work with various groups to help meet the needs of students. As you can see, helping us out in math are Ellen Cooper, Mandy Kester, Rachel Hollinger, and Ryan Lohr. You may hear those names at some point from your student. Giving us some extra support with reading this year are Mandy Kester, Megan Hebert, Ryan Lohr, and Kelly Abrahamson. So if you ever hear your students talk about those folks, working with them in a small group or something, you'll know who they are. The next slide, you'll see our daily schedule. We start each morning with morning work and announcements. It's a quick time. By the time students all get into the room and we take attendance, we sometimes have time for a morning meeting, but not always. We start with math at 9:30 in the morning, and you can see that runs until 10:45. At the end of math time at around 10:45 is when students will have that all-important snack break that they like. After math, we switch and come back to our homeroom for right now for unit studies. And as I just said, students will have each of the different fourth grade teachers for various subjects. Those are 21-day cycles. They go awfully quickly, but we find that it's a great time to get to know all of the fourth graders here at Turtle Lake and work with all of them. After unit studies is when we have specialists, and you can see there we're lucky to have two Phi-Ed teachers, Mrs. Crockett for music, Info Lit with Mrs. Reimer. Mrs. Wills is teaching science, and we have two art teachers, both Mrs. Nara and this year Miss Carroll is also teaching art. After specialists, we come back, and the kids, kind of a relaxing time before lunch where we have a read aloud in the room. Following that, we have a 50-minute lunch break, which is lunch and recess, so a little bit longer this year for students to be able to eat their lunch and then enjoy some extra playtime outside. Our afternoon consists of our literacy block, where we start with writing and then we get into our reading lessons. And finally, at around 3:50, we wrap up our day with our jobs and head on out at around 4. As I know you have seen, your students have a planner that they are responsible for writing in each and every day. We take time to write in those planners each day. So if your child has not written in their planner on a given day, please ask them about this, because this is their job and their responsibility to do that each day. You have noticed also that there's the peek at the week that's taped in the student's planner. That is where you will find just kind of a look into things that are coming up during the week and then special events in the weeks ahead. Hopefully that's helpful to you. If you have any communication that you wish to make with me, always writing a note on the bottom part of that planner is a great way for me to get that as I check them each and every day. I also ask if you would please take a moment to just initial the planner each night. I strongly encourage you to use that planner as a communication tool. Ask your child about their day. Ask them about what they're learning. And because it's all written in, hopefully, you'll be able to take a peek at what's been written and use that as a springboard for communication to find out what's happening here in fourth grade. As fourth graders, your students are very familiar with our school-wide expectations of being respectful, being responsible, and being safe. Things are no different with our Leeser family of learners. I certainly expect that they will follow those same rules. If students are having difficulty following behavior expectations, I think it's important that they're given time to reflect on the choices that they've made and be given an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. Sometimes taking a break from the classroom or spending time in a buddy classroom gives students enough time to reset themselves. There may be other times that a call or an email home needs to be made, or a loss of Fun Friday may also be an appropriate consequence. We try to take time at the end of our day to rate our day as a class and talk about some gems and some opportunities for improving on the next day. How can you help us here at school? Well, a few ways. With regards to homework, we did instill a homework policy last year that I'm sure many of you are aware of. Doesn't mean your student won't ever have homework at all, but we ask that when you do have homework, which is limited again, you make sure you have a certain time to do that and a certain quiet place that's best for their learning style. We ask that each child spend at least 20 minutes per evening reading, and that can be reading to themselves or reading to a partner, or even listening to an adult reading is a great way to read. Again, we encourage you to talk through your planner each night, talk about each day. We'd also like to ask that you clean out your child's folder each evening. Please do it with your child. Sometimes we put papers in there that we don't want to lose. Your children should put them in the return to school side of their folder if we want them back, but that doesn't always happen. And of course, we hope you'll communicate with us if you ever feel the need or if you have questions, because we are happy to answer questions for you. A couple notes about our writing workshop, which takes place in the afternoon, to let you know the different types of writing that we take through the editing process and on to final draft. We will work on a personal narrative, descriptive writing, a persuasive essay, informational writing, and poetry. Again, all those will be taken to the final draft, or to a final draft. We also, every week on Wednesdays, I give the kids an opportunity to do a free write, where sometimes they're given a subject or a story starter, where they're given about 20 minutes to write, and then we'll take time afterwards to just share those. We don't take that through the editing process. It's just sort of a good time for them to get their thoughts out and have fun with writing. I do encourage them to work on sentence structure and capitalization and punctuation and grammar in those, but I also tell them that they're not going to be graded, so they can be a little more carefree with their writing. All of those pieces of writing you will get at the end of the year in a writing binder, so you can enjoy looking through those pieces at the end of the year. With regard to our reading workshop, we use the Lucy Calkins curriculum for our reading instruction, and the routine for our reading portion of the day is as follows. We start each day with a read aloud, and then that leads into a mini lesson on whatever subject or topic we are working on at the time. Following that, the students will have independent reading and small group time where they practice the skill that has been taught for the day. And then the last thing that we do is they have independent reading time where I will spend time conferring with students, listening to them read, and talking about some strategies with them. Wednesdays are our library day, so I ask that you please encourage your child to always return their library books on Wednesdays. To give you a peek into some of the different things we'll be covering in reading this year, Our main reading topics are character traits, text features and author's purpose and point of view. We do a lot of work on main idea and supporting details, finding explicit and implicit details in text. We have a large unit on historical fiction that we'll be working on towards the end of the year, and theme is always an important topic that we'll be covering throughout the year. In our reading small groups, just to give you an idea of how those look, students are pulled into what we call strategy groups each week. Those groups usually consist of 3 to 5 students, and what we work on in those groups are just some of the activities that students might need a little extra support in. Those groups are constantly changing based on the needs of the students, and what we always say is we have a tool that we use and we give them a task to show that they understand the concept or to practice the concept that we're working on. So tool and task is what we call that. Last but not least, word study. We're not doing a spelling program this year. Word study has replaced spelling. We found with research that memorizing spelling words really doesn't transfer over into written work. So instead, we'll be focusing on understanding word parts, prefixes and suffixes and root words are our focus. Working with Greek and Latin root words and understanding their meanings, and hoping that if they understand those meanings, they'll also learn how to spell words. We, of course, encourage proper spelling when we're working in writing and when we're following the editing process and taking things to the publishing stage. The last thing that I want to leave you with is something you may have seen before, but as I mentioned when talking about homework, we strongly encourage, although we don't usually have a lot of homework each night, the one thing that we do ask students to do is read 20 minutes. And like I said before, that can be reading to a parent, having a parent read to them, or taking turns. Why read 20 minutes at home? I find this poster to be really enlightening. If you look at it, a student who reads 20 minutes a day, that means they're 3,600 minutes per school year. And you can follow the poster. I don't need to read it to you, but you can see, although test scores aren't everything, we can see that students score within the 90th percentile on standardized tests if they're just being exposed to various kinds of words and word parts and vocabulary. It's an excellent way to grow the mind. You can see on the chart the student that only reads 5 minutes per day, it goes down significantly as far as the words per year they're taking in and learning and understanding, on down to the student that's only reading 1 per day. So we strongly encourage you to please take 20 minutes. Encourage your child to take 20 minutes. I know our lives are busy, so if you're traveling in the car or running errands or waiting for dinner to be cooked or whatever it is, please, please, please don't leave that part out of your evening. Please consider that to be an integral part of each and every evening, that reading. I thank you so much for listening, as I probably rambled on a little too long. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to let me know via email or via phone call. I'm happy to be there to partner with you in your child's education. So thanks for everything. I hope this was helpful. Take care.